The atavisms of birth, the chains of tradition and custom, the pomp and shows and shams of the vital world, its glitter and glamour, the prison houses of ideas and ideologies such as humanitarianism, philanthropy, etc., cannot satisfy the spirit's thirst for long. At best, they can be steps and stages, halfway homes of the spirit when for a moment we can rest and breathe. But if the seeking is genuine, it is bound to take us beyond it. This frame cannot satisfy. One sees through it, sees the hollowness of it. And anyone who has ever sincerely tried any of these things would realize, if the soul is awake, that this is not what I am looking for. And if one is still satisfied with it, then one is not yet ready for the search of the soul. This is the primary condition. If this satisfies one, it is good to try it, fulfill it, if it can ever be fulfilled, until a point comes when we see through it, the hollowness of it. And then the search starts. Naturally, so long as we satisfy the world ego, live according to social conventions, religious conventions, traditional thought, we are pampered by the world. But when we try to break free and seek something higher, not break free for just leading a licentious life, but seek something higher, then the world, the same world which pampered, whiplashes. So Sri Aurobindo, the letter that we read yesterday, he says at one point that if you regard being a good husband, a good son, etc. as signs of spirituality, then I myself has not been any of them. Honestly he says. And it's so true, because this is a different domain altogether. We look at the life of all those who have walked ahead. It's not these things. These things are useful in our evolution in ignorance. But when it comes to seeking for the soul, it's entering the realm of the infinite. All our measures, they begin to fall apart. It's almost like someone who has been accustomed to swimming in a swimming pool, or at most in a river, is thrown into an ocean. And it's, of course, delight, its vastness, its freedom, but it also carries its own danger. And that is why it takes long. That's why one should not try to convert anyone to the ways of the spirit. It has to reach a point. Otherwise it can be very disorienting, confusing, even unnerving. And that's why Mother and Sri Aurobindo repeatedly tell us. In the process, our feet get wounded. In fact, it's almost the rule rather than an exception. And that's what we had read yesterday. I have a term for it. The tax of the night. If you live within the realm of night, you live a tax-free life. It's very interesting that certain states, I won't name which ones, I'm sure people who are well informed know what I am talking about. There is no tax if you follow their religion. But if you don't follow their religion, there is a certain amount of tax. And if you want to free yourself, then there is a whiplash. You just can't help it. You are caught, trapped. When you try to escape, there is a tax of night. It says, oh, you want to seek a spiritual life. So, spiritual life means one has to go through all these things, accept it as the experiences of the way. Savitri realizes it, knows it. Then Savitri, following the great winding road, page 501, last two lines, 501. Then Savitri, following the great winding road, came where it dwindled into a narrow path. A time comes when one feels alone, one knows one is alone even in a crowd. It's not about physically being alone, that's not the thing, but being alone even in a crowd. And the renunciation required to lead a spiritual life is renunciation of these things, our habits, traditions, customary thought, conventions, ideas, opinions, viewpoints, the shows and shams of the vital, the artificial glitter. These things have to be renounced, not something external. So it comes ultimately towards a narrow path where the alone meets the unique, or the unique meets the alone. Trod only by rare, wounded pilgrim feet. It's easy to talk about the soul. There are commentaries. If you read, commentaries on what is Atma, there'll be big discussions. What is Jivatma and what is this Purusha, that Purusha, according to Vedanta, according to Tantra, according to this Vaishya. So, that is easy. What is difficult is to walk the path, and that comes trod by rare, wounded pilgrim feet. None can reach heaven who has passed not through hell. A few bright forms emerged from unknown depths and looked at her with calm, immortal eyes. There was no sound to break the brooding hush. One felt the silent nearness of the soul. It doesn't declare itself, doesn't announce itself, I am your soul. Mother speaks of the voice of the soul is a very gentle voice. It's more like a feeling, giving us a gentle direction. And if we ignore it, it stops saying anything. But the voice of the vital and the mind is very insisting. Do this. Thou must do this. It wants to push us. But the soul is the silent nearness of the soul, hidden inside a cave. And then starts another wonderful canto. Book 7, Canto 4, the triple soul forces. I've sometimes heard people talk about it in many ways, various philosophical ways, but the meaning is very direct. The triple soul forces is straight away referring to the traigunyamayee maya of the soul, or prakriti. Except that Sri Aurobindo brings his own light into it. Normally when we talk about traigunyamayee maya, which is a gift of the Sankhyas, it is as if it is something like an unconscious force. Even in science we talk about it like a jada prakriti. It's something unconscious which has held the soul captive. But Sri Aurobindo, taking a cue from the Gita, says there is a lower nature and there is a higher nature. And this lower movement is derived from something higher, something which is closer to the divine. And that is its purpose. It's after all a maya of the Lord. That's why he says in one of his very powerful essays, you cannot slay maya, you can slay moha. Maya is the maya of the Lord. There is a purpose. It is through this that the Lord reaches out to us, as we will see. So this idea that somebody is an orphan, nobody is looked after, cared for, what is God doing? He has already created the technology to take care of us. When we see this canto, we realize that how He has built this world. To start with, He has seated within us a small portion of Himself, or herself as He puts it. For since He knows the toil of mind and body and life, as a mother knows and shares her children's lives, she puts forth a small portion of herself, a being no bigger than the thumb of man, into a hidden region of the heart, to share the pang and to forget the bliss. She has already put that in everyone. Nobody is deprived of it. This is a gift from grace. We are born with it. Then that is not enough. So there is the trigunyamayee prakriti. So when there is a time to rest, automatically tamasic prakriti will come, put us to sleep. And during sleep, what it will do? Cleanse us. That's why in the morning, all the waste is thrown out. It's wonderful work it does. It takes all the wounds, all our pain, struggle, ouch, we sleep. In the morning, we get up so much better. And we thank the doctor. We don't thank the prakriti which has helped us. She has nursed us, taken care of us. To give us strength and courage to fight life, there is the rajogun. Where does it come from? People may say it's me. What is me? If we analyze closely, it is nature, nothing else. Nature which has been given to us is a gift. And when Rajas is in its peak, making us speed beyond limits. Then there is a caution, a cautionary force which says you are overspeeding, slow down, the CCTV is tracking you, hold on, hold your horses. So there is something in us like a sattvic prakriti which instinctively seeks for balance, for light, for harmony. All this has been given to us. But the moment this prakriti enters into the realm of the ego, bound nature, the lower nature, it becomes something distorted. And this is what we see in the triple soul forces. To restore it to its original purity, to recover this higher nature, not to live by the lower nature, is one of the tasks. As Savitri proceeds, this change comes into her and she discovers it. The triple soul forces. So you'll go through the tamas, rajas and sattva, and this soul force, the triple soul force, manifests in human beings as the fourfold soul personality. Normally through lives we move. There is the Shudra bhava, where we deal with physical matter and we are more connected with the soil and the earth, and we must be perfect in our works, and it's the nurse, the service, those who take care of others, create beauty in shapes. This is its work. And then comes the Vaishya bhava and the Kshatriya bhava from the vital nature or the rajas, rajogun. And then comes the Brahmin bhava, the seeking after light, sukham and prakasham. And all these must be perfected in a sadhaka. That's what Sri Aurobindo says in Records of Yoga. If you read, there are the various chatushta in which there is Shakti chatushta. Shakti chatushta speaks about this fourfold perfection of the Shudra, the Vaishya, the Kshatriya and the Brahman in the yogin. Very interesting. And this is the new type of humanity. It's not that somebody is lower, somebody is higher. Each of them brings its own contribution to the total perfection of humanity. So first, through the tamoguni prakriti. And second thing we discover in triple soul forces, ki these are not just mechanical forces. They are supported by a Godhead, beings who are behind it. Here, from a low and prone and listless ground, one can start seeing the description of material nature. Low and prone and listless ground. Description of inertia, lying low, prone, just in a posture of surrender. The passion of the first ascent began. A moon bright face in a somber cloud of hair. This darkness all around, lit by a moonlight face. Look at this. A woman sat in a pale, lustrous robe. All description is of something subdued. The light is there, but it is subdued. A rugged and ragged soil was her bare seat. Where is she sitting? She doesn't have a throne, but on bare soil. What kind of soil? Rough, rugged and ragged soil was her bare seat. Beneath her feet, a sharp and wounding stone. Material nature in its a divine pity on the peaks of the world. This is the true movement of this nature. It's what we have in material nature in Indian tradition, Puranas, is often spoken of or described as Parvati. She is the consort of Shiva, who is Tamogun Pradhan. But this is about the higher part. In the demons and the asuras, it becomes lower nature. So they are always sitting on bare stone. There is a sense of asceticism. And Uma Parvati is always full of pity. You don't find that in any of the other goddesses. It is out of her that Durga is born. That is the Rajogun Pradhan, because she carries it within herself. But she is all the time caring, wants to soothe the wounds, and many are her forms and aspects which, during the festivals people speak about. The passion of the first ascent began. Beneath her feet a sharp and wounding stone, a divine pity on the peaks of the world. A spirit touched by the grief of all that lives. Even her consort Shiva, this is his quality. Drinking the grief and poison of the world. That's how Sri Aurobindo describes in one of his poems, The One Self. In us too, Shiva drinks the world's grief. At night when we are asleep, when we have had pain and we have even cursed God, cursed everybody, Shiva comes at night, takes our grief, stains his throat. We wake up freed. And we again curse God. But God is not bothered. That's why He is God. It's their work. This is their service. They are long suffering in humanity this way. She looked out far and saw from inner mind this questionable world of outward things. That's why there is a vairagya in that state. Questionable world. They are beyond samshan. Don't talk about this world, this apparent world. What is this? Vairagya pradhan. Go past samshan when this world is annulled. Yes, this world is full of questionable, dubious world. Of false appearances and plausible shapes. Tamoguni Prakriti comes to liberate us from that. In its true movement, not as it is experienced, that Sri Aurobindo will reveal to us subsequently. It comes and destroys. Its purpose is to destroy, disintegrate all that is not one with the spirit. So it disintegrates the body. At the end you realize, I thought this is me. It is not me. That's why Shiva is called as Moksha Dayini. He liberates us from all ignorant formations and formulations. The pangs of earth, the toil and speed of the stars, and the difficult birth and dolorous end of life. This Madonna, Mother of Suffering, Grief Divine, understands it. Our pain, suffering, looks at it. The very birth into the world is a pain and suffering. She knows it. You don't have to say that I have this suffering or that suffering. It's a birth into limitation. Accepting the universe as her body of woe. Wonderful image we will see from Christianity and Hinduism fusing together. Accepting the universe as her body of woe. One is reminded of Shiva moving with Sati's corpse on his shoulder, wailing with the sorrow of the world which does not recognize the Shakti, and moving in the 4 or 10 quarters. The mother of the 7 sorrows bore. This is an allusion to Christianity. The mother of the 7 sorrows bore the 7 stabs that pierced her bleeding heart. So we have the Christian legend that there are 7 sorrows of Mother Mary. So what are these 7 sorrows? First is the prophecy when she goes to the Jewish temple, and there is a particular priest, Simeons or something like that. Somebody would correct me, but as far as I remember, Simeons. And he has been told that you will not die until you have seen the Lord. So he sees Christ with Mother Mary and her husband or his father, and he holds Christ in his hands and says, thank you, because the Holy Spirit tells him that, you are holding the Lord. I am so glad now I can die after saving the Lord. It's a interesting thing, The Lord has come to say, but it's a Christian ceremony. Then it was not Christian, but you say baptize or save because you have given a holy name. Now, very interesting, there is a story about Sri Aurobindo's life which he passingly mentions. But there is something very interesting about a parallel. There are parallels between Sri Aurobindo's life and Krishna's life. There are parallels about Sri Aurobindo's life and Christ's life. So one such parallel is when Sri Aurobindo is taken, baby Sri Aurobindo, to the church for the first time. The priest throws some water and says, he's saved, he's saved. And gives him a name, Ackroyd. It's very interesting. He's saved, he's saved. So her first sorrow is when she takes and the priest prophesies that, see, he will be crucified. This is the first sorrow. Then they escape to Egypt to escape because they know that King Herod is killing everybody, because he has come to know that my reign will end. So they escape to his second sorrow. Then, the crucifixion. Then as he walks the path, there's a term for this path, it's among the Jews, this thing, and it's still called that path, Calvary, or, it's the path where Christ is being taken with the cross. And I just sometimes wonder what it must be to live on that street for somebody who is a devout Christian. Like, I look at it like that, what it means to us to live here in ashram. the path that he has walked with the cross. And he has to meet his mother. And his mother says that, I have given you for the world. You have to sacrifice yourself for the sake of the world. Then of course he is crucified. Then he is brought down from the cross, given a burial. All these are the 7 sorrows of Mother Mary. And Sri Aurobindo brings it out, and she is depicted as having these 7 wounds in her heart, stabs. And this myth is very interesting. And of course, there are paintings of Madonna of Suffering, which Sri Aurobindo actually uses the name. There is a poem, Mater Dolorosa, the Mother of Pain. And not only that, has written a whole article on it. The Divine Mother who is all blissful becomes pain and suffering. And in Indian tradition, it's the sacrifice of the Divine Mother who accepts the burden of suffering and pain. So we have this very beautiful Christian myth. The mother of the 7 sorrows bore the 7 stabs that pierce her bleeding heart. So she doesn't have to bear it. She bears it for the sake of earth and mankind. The beauty of sadness lingered on her face. How beautiful this is. What can make sadness beautiful? Because it's not a personal sadness. That's what when somebody asks the mother, Mother, you have written in prayers and meditation about some sadness, suffering. She says it's not personal. It is the sadness experience for the world which is rejecting the divine. It's not that I am suffering because my child will go to cross. It's not that. It's an impersonal sadness where the entire sadness or grief of the world is gathered into herself. And that sadness is divine. It's not something selfish. And therefore there is a beauty in it. And that beauty is reflected on her face. Her eyes were dim with the ancient stain of tears. It's not first time she is suffering. One place mother says in the agenda, my child, I am millions of years old. And then she adds, and I am waiting. Touches you. I am waiting. How she has worked ages, toiled to bring this new thing upon earth. And many times burnt at the stake, guillotined, what not. Just so that one day the divine love will be the victor upon earth. So, ancient stain of tears. Her heart was riven with the world's agony. That's why there is that beauty. And burdened with the sorrow and struggle on time. And anguished music trailed in her rapt voice. If she wanted, she is divine. She could have said, I don't care, I just escape. And that's why I keep on saying this, my personal feeling. Divine is great, but greater is the avatar. Because he has chosen to become us and to come upon earth. There he is, what he is. Omnipotent, omniscient, everything, wonderful. But when he becomes human, there is something added to that beauty and glory, the touch of matter. And that's why our hearts reach out in so much gratitude when he is embodied. This embodiment of the divine is called by the mother as the great secret. It's the plunge of love because of which he becomes us. He doesn't have to. Sri Aurobindo had no need. Sri Aurobindo had all the siddhis at his disposal. The mother didn't need to, bother about her small problems, big problems, these letter, that letter, he is fighting with me, that person has done this, mother, my soap is finished, mother, arrange me a better room, mother, you don't take care of us. All kinds. People have even gone on to write to Sri Aurobindo. You ask the sadhaks to work, but we see that you are not working. Can you imagine? People have written. I mean, it's height of madness, stupidity, ingratitude, whatever one may use it. This is the kind of humanity, and Sri Aurobindo is accepting all of them. He could have simply said, pack it up. Who would have stopped him from even consciously departing? But even in his departure, we have in the Gita, Janma Karma Chame Divyam, to which he adds, Mrityu Divyam. Because he sees so much darkness, so he says, let me withdraw it like Shiva. Take it into my body. He could have just departed sitting like a typical yogi, uttered Om or his own name and gone. And people would have, But he chooses to depart in a way where he draws all the darkness into his body. Makes it even more divine. And fools think it is less divine. Divine should do miracle, just vanish in thin air. If there is divinity, this is divinity. Or Christ bleeding from the cross, that is divinity. Krishna dying of a small little arrow punctured into his feet, this is divinity. Absorbed in a deep compassion's ecstasy, her heart is full of compassion. When we ascend from there is a lower movement which he brings later on of this tamoguni prakriti into its own higher equivalent. Then it changes into compassion. Compassion which doesn't give up. Lifting the mild ray of her patient gaze, in soft, sweet, training words, slowly she spoke. And she speaks. O Savitri, I am thy secret soul. See, there are three Madonnas who have come to assist the world. So they come to her, I am thy secret soul. To share the suffering of the world I came. She has become this material nature. All suffering ultimately imprints itself on material nature. That's why the mother says, when the cells too feel the glory of the Lord, then they'll be the perfect work. It carries the imprint of millenniums of suffering. It has been needed under suffering. That's what mother says, matter knows nothing else except suffering. It doesn't know grace instinctively because its whole evolution is under suffering. But who has borne this? Madonna of Suffering, Mother of Grief Divine. I draw my children's pangs into my breast. Earth nature absorbs it. I am the nurse of the dolor beneath the stars. Pain. She is the first nurse. She takes care. That's why when we have pain and something, one simple way is to just lie down. Lie down even on floor. It will just begin to absorb. It's her nature. She pulls it. I am the soul of all who wailing writhe under the ruthless harrow of the gods. I am woman, nurse, and slave, and beaten beast. All these I have become so that I can take it. I tend the hands that gave me cruel blows, even those who mistreat material nature. Even those hands she tends. Look at, like, we throw stones. It's a very famous, we learnt in childhood. You throw stones at a tree, it gives you fruits. It doesn't abuse or curse you. You pollute the water, it will still quench your thirst. People ransack, ravage nature. Still it feeds those hands. That's what material nature is. The hearts that spurn my love and zeal, I serve. I am the courted queen, the pampered doll. Everybody wants it. Nobody can live. We cannot imagine life without the gifts of material nature. I am the giver of the bowl of rice, Annapurna. We think of, it is the farmer, it is the businessman, rice has come because of this, that. But the first giver is material nature. It is she who gives us the bowl of rice, and minimum we can do is to thank her and to take care of her. I am the giver of the bowl of rice. I am the worshipped angel of the house. I am in all that suffers and that cries. Mine is the prayer that climbs in vain from earth. She is born for that. She takes it. She prays. But material nature doesn't have still, and now things have changed. I am sure, this is before the supramental advent. Now material nature's prayers would reach, I am sure. But when it is written, material nature, it can pray, but the fire is so little, it cannot climb up to reach heaven. It's trapped within. Mine is the prayer that climbs in vain from earth. I am traversed by my creature's agonies. I am the spirit in a world of pain. what all she takes upon herself, this material nature, this mother, this cream of tortured flesh and tortured hearts, fallen back on heart and flesh, unheard by heaven, has rent with helpless grief and wrath my soul. You see, we are looking for, Mahabharata war, did it take place, not take place, all kinds of things, Troy and many other things. But those imprints remain in earth. They are not washed away by it. That's the nature of earth nature. She has carried all those imprints. If one were a yogi and went into contact with earth nature, one will discover it. Mother speaks of it. She says the whole history of mankind is there imprinted in earth nature. That's why once she is watching a movie and suddenly she says, it didn't happen like this. As far as I remember, it was Lakshmi Bai's Jhansi Ki Rani movie. She says, it didn't happen like this. Joan of Arc. That's not how it is. Because she has access to it. As Madonna of Suffering, bearing all this pain, she holds it within herself. So this is how material nature operates. Everything is imprinted. I have seen the peasant burning in his hut. I have seen the slashed corpse of the slaughtered child, heard women's cry ravished and stripped and hailed amid the bayings of the hell-bound mob. I have looked on, I had no power to save. She is the witness. Our earth is the witness. Mountains are the witness. Rivers are the witness. They have dried up. Saraswati has dried up. Krishna is on the verge to dry up. Ganga is being throttled. She is the witness to all these misdeeds of us. She has soaked all this blood inside. When a woman stripped and beaten, bruised, with a slaughtered child is lying on earth, heavens are sealed. Nobody is there to help her. But Mother Earth is still there. She is taking it into herself. I have brought no arm of strength to aid or slay. God gave me love, He gave me not His force. And what a love. That's why if one wants to take an example of love, one of that is earth. How she takes, accepts everything. Gives place to everybody. Nobody can come to Mother Earth and say, I don't have a place for myself. Even the most poisonous creatures, she gives a place. That is the nature of earth, because she loves. Prayer of Mother India, Mother says something very similar about Mother India. You who has never rejected any of your children, whoever came seeking place, she has given place. Invaders, plunderers, everybody she gave place. This is the beauty and greatness, because she embodies in herself also this aspect of the Divine Mother, Madonna of Suffering, Mother of Grief Divine. Of course, all the other Madonnas are also there. I have shared the toil of the yoked animal drudge, pushed by the goad, encouraged by the whip. And all who awaken to this Madonna of Suffering, they share this compassion. We see how when somebody was mistreating the bullocks in the ashram, Sri Aurobindo called for the person who was taking care and said, the bullock is more receptive than you. Don't mistreat. Bullock is more receptive than you. How they were taking care of everything, every creature, animal, that compassion which was reaching out even to the tree. This is that aspect of the Divine Mother, where even for the tree she is caring and bothered. For the smallest objects, material objects, she bothers. She even has there is a prayer of the mother when she is changing her house. When we change our house, we are bothered only about the new house. But she prays. It's there in her prayers and meditation. He says, I am thankful to all the objects that have served me. And I pray that May they pass into hands that will take care of them. She's praying for these objects, what to speak of us. May they pass into hands which will take care of them. I have shared the fear-filled life of bird and beast, its long hunt for the day's precarious food, its covert slink and crouch and hungry prowl, its pain and terror seized by beak and claw. That is how she could understand all these creatures because of this aspect. See how beautifully this, it's a very awful story at one level. When a cat owned by one of the sadhaks, or rather sadhika, she was killed brutally by, at one time there used to be a group of cat hunters. And they used to do very cruel things, take out the entrails and then, eat the cat. And when she got injured, fatally injured, she died. The sadhika felt bad about it. She thought that, oh, I should have taken care and all. Mother said, on the contrary, the cat took care of you. What? How? So she said, for a few days you had a desire for house. Yes, mother. He said, this desire was attracting all kinds of adverse formations towards you. And this cat, who is very sensitive, took it upon herself. It's there in Amal Kiran's book, The Mother, Past, Present, Future. He speaks about it. Shares this. So how, so mother knew all this, what's happening in their life. I have shared the daily life of common men, its petty pleasures and its petty cares. Even the smallest details of life did not escape her. What needs of every human being, because this aspect is there in her. Its press of troubles and haggard horde of ills, earth's trail of sorrow, hopeless of relief, the unwanted, tedious labor without joy, and the burden of misery and the strokes of fate. Now we can understand at least a little bit of who the Divine Mother is. We are still far from that, but at least one aspect of her. This is not a spirituality where we say, oh, people are suffering because they are in moha, they are entrapped with Maya illusion. I am walking my way toward the glories of the Spirit. The Divine Mother will not do that because she has a heart of compassion. When we look at the trigunatmik prakriti only as lower nature, then we want to escape. But when we embody the higher nature, then we don't escape. We fulfill God in life. So we see this aspect of compassion. Even when people are coming, what room is it? Has it been arranged properly? All this, the mother details she used to go into. Take care of each and every one. Their food, their staying arrangement, the clothes, everything. This is her spirituality. Until now she does that. Few days back, how she works, very strange ways. Somebody had come a month or back or so, that I need a house, will the ashram give me? I say, I don't know, you go and ask, try it. So she tried and obviously she got an answer, no, we don't give like that. She said, I am willing to give some rent. No, don't give like that. So I said, you pray to mother. Mother will take care of everything. So 2 days back, she came and said, really, how? I don't know from where I met someone who is known to someone, and the person came and requested me that I want somebody to share my house. Will you be kind enough to come and stay? And she said, yeah. She didn't know what to say. Then she said, what rent? So first he said, the lady said that you give the, you just take care of the maintenance and the electricity, water charges. She said gladly because she was willing to pay some rent. Then next day she said, no, I think you leave it, you just stay. Don't have to give any rent. Later on we will see if there is a need. Turned away from the world. But mother, she knows everybody's heart. You have to just trust her because she is the giver of the bowl of rice. She will make sure that nobody goes hungry. She has her own ways. Earth's trail of sorrow, hopeless of relief, the unwanted, tedious labor without joy, and the burden of misery and the strokes of fate. If we go to her, she will listen. We don't have trust. That's our problem. Or we pray and say, it didn't happen, it should happen tomorrow. She is doing her work, whatever best. So we should tell her because she has that heart. I have been pity leaning over pain. She understands our pain. For a long time, Mother had a mantra. In fact, this is a mantra she has used for the longest time. In the beginning, it's a mantra in French. And it means in English, God, Lord of kindness and mercy. She was invoking kindness and mercy. She says for 25 years, she was doing this mantra because she was seeing the agony of earth. God, Lord of kindness and mercy. She knows she cannot change things just by that. But at least she can take that pain and suffering into herself. Reduce the burden of the globe. I have pity leaning over pain. And the tender smile that heals the wounded heart. This is not the pity which says, oh my God, I begin to cry. The pity, divine compassion is very strong. Innately, there is a smile within it which understands the pain and absorbs it. The smile of the Divine Mother which removes, chases away all clouds of gloom. And sympathy making life less hard to bear. Someone's father had died at a very young age, 40s. So the father was responsible for bringing the whole family to the ashram, and he underwent a surgery and died. Of course, mother had told him not to go through, but whatever it is, that's destiny. All others remained. So when the daughter and mother, 3-year-old baby and her mother go to Divine Mother, Divine Mother greets them with outstretched arms. There is a little tear in her eyes. She didn't say, don't worry straight away that, all this is transient. So they went there and she embraced. And she said, do you want to talk to him? Now this they unexpected. So they don't know what to say. Said, he is with me. He is in peace. He is very happy with me. And the lady says, Mother, if that is the case, we don't want to disturb. She didn't give a lecture on the Gita. It's all anityam, asukham, go, Even the Gita, Krishna would not do it, though we misuse these words when somebody is in suffering and pain. Oh, why are you attached? It's our way of doing. Mother's way was she understood where there is attachment of an indulgent kind and where there is genuine suffering and pain, and she would take it. Man has felt near my unseen face and hands. I have become the sufferer and his moan. That's what Shri Krishna says in the Gita. When these bodies suffer, it is I who suffers in them. That's what is meant when Christ says that I am the one who is taking the suffering of earth while I am being crucified. This is what it means. It's the action of the avatar, all the suffering. I have lain down with the mangled and the slain. I have lived with the prisoner in his dungeon cell. Heavy on my shoulders weighs the yoke of time. Did not Sri Aurobindo reach out to the prisoner in the cell literally? And many others, many stories we don't know. Many of them may not have even recognized how they were being saved. We have seen Schindler's List, Steven Spielberg's movie. But who was that lady who helped them cross the borders, save them? Surely she was inspired by some aspect of the Divine Mother. So there are her vibhutis. Heavy on my shoulders weighs the yoke of time. Nothing refusing of creation's load. I have borne all and know I still must bear. She has endless patience. She doesn't give up. Perhaps when the world sinks into a last sleep, she waits for that. During Pralaya she is at rest. Again we see that aspect of the tamoguni prakriti which puts things into sleep, lulls them to sleep like mother's lullabies. and then absorbs their pain and wakes up. That waking up work is somebody else's. She just endures and takes. I too may sleep in dumb eternal peace. So this tamoguni prakriti originally is the eternal calm and peace, which the ability to endure, which draws everything. But here it turns into inertia. That we will read subsequently after the break. I have borne the calm indifference of heaven, vast nature's cruelty to suffering things, while God passed silent by, nor turned to help. Because that is a different consciousness. Wisdom that sees across centuries. But he has deputed someone, or rather she, to bear the pain and suffering till something else happens. Something comes. Yet have I cried not out against his will, yet have I not accused his cosmic law. This is what is the difference. She knows there is something, there is a reason, there is a law. She may not understand it. Her task is to bear it, to heal the creatures, to help them, to save them, to rescue them. She must do it. And those who embody this personality of the Divine Mother, they don't say, I am the Savior. God, see, he is such a cruel guy. They don't say that. They trust the Divine. They lean upon the Divine for strength. It's not that they are oblivious to world pain. They share its agony. But they say, I may not understand it, but I heal it. Only to change this great hard world of pain, a patient prayer has risen from my breast. A pallid resignation lights my brow. Within me a blind faith and mercy dwell. Blind faith. Things will be fine. He knows. The Divine knows. I don't know. But He has given me my task. Let me do it. Blind faith and mercy. I carry the fire that never can be quenched and the compassion that supports the suns. I am the hope that looks towards my God. Wherever she goes, she brings hope. We sleep at night thinking life is hopeless. We get up in the morning, no, perhaps there is a way. Who gives us at night? We say there is no God. Of course, something from within us. And what is this within? Who made this within? Who brought this within? Brought hope and strength from within. Nature. And whose nature is this? How did it come into existence? From the Divine. It is His nature, His compassion. I am the hope that looks towards my God who never came to me till now. His voice I hear that ever says, I come. I know that one day He shall come at last. This is the tapasya of Parvati. World bereft of Shiva is crying. It's unable to live, unable to breathe. Love is burned down. Who will wake him up? Parvati calls him. Come, come my Lord, come. Come my Lord, this material nature needs you. No, I don't come into material nature. It doesn't make any sense to me. Let material nature vanish. That is the way of Shiva. Let this entire creation be turned into pralaya, blazes. My dance will destroy it. How do I care? And she says, come, come my Lord, come, come. And he is sitting in trance for ages and ages and ages. No other goddess will do it. Lakshmi will not do it. She will walk away. Vishnu has to follow her. Brahmani will not do it. But Parvati will do it because she knows the agony of earth nature. And Shiva, the true sense of the tam, he is regarded in Indian mythology as tamo gun pradhan, but not in the way we understand tamas in lower nature. This, the eternal calm and peace, who absorbs all creatures' grief. He has done it enough. He says, now let the creation go to blazes. And she brings him out. Come, come, come. And he chooses to get tied once again to earth nature through Parvati. So this is the story. We started with that and end with that. Last two lines, we'll stop with that. His voice I hear that ever says, I come. I know that one day he shall come at last. So we'll take 7.5 minutes break. Come as soon as we can, so that at least we can finish this part.